Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravana Chari Yamuna Tiravana Chari Yamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Radha Radhanath ki jai, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande. Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna. Today we're reading from Chaitanya Charitamrta, Adi Lila, chapter 2, and its texts 23 and 24. I will read 23 on my own, and then we can read 24 together. Paravyomite Vaishe Narayana Nama Sadeshvarya Purna Lakshmi Kanta Bhagavan. Lord Narayan, who dominates the transcendental world, is full in 6 opulences. He is the personality of Godhead, the Lord of the Goddess of Fortune. So just pre-warning, this class is probably going to be called 20 questions. So let's hear the text and the purport, and when we're listening to it, maybe you can think about, what do we learn about the nature of God? Just one thing that we learn about the nature of God when you're listening. And we can come to today's verse. Veda Bhagavata Upanishada Gama. Okay, we'll do it. Try it again. Veda Bhagavata Upanishada Gama. Purna Tattva Yan Rekha Hai Nahi Yan Rasama. Veda Bhagavata Upanishada Gama. Purna Tattva Yan Rekha Hai Nahi Yan Rasama. Veda Bhagavata Upanishada Gama. Purna Tattva Yan Rekha Hai Nahi Yan Rasama. Prabhus. Veda Bhagavata Upanishad Agama. Purna Tattva Yan Rekha Hai Nahi Yan Rasama. Anybody else will give it a try? Purna Tattva Yan Rekha Hai Nahi Yan Rasama. Veda Bhagavata Upanishada Gama. Purna Tattva Yan Rekha Hai Nahi Yan Rasama. Ladies. Veda Bhagavata Upanishada Gama. Veda Bhagavata Upanishad Agama. Purna Tattva Yan Rekha Hai Nahi Yan Rasama. Okay, thank you. We go for the word for word. Veda, the Vedas. Bhagavata, Srimad Bhagavatam. Upanishad, the Upanishads. Agama, other transcendental literatures. Purna Tattva, full truth. Yanre, unto whom. Kahe, they say. Nahi, there is not. Yanra, whose. Sama, equal. The personality of Godhead is He who is described as the absolute whole in the Vedas, Bhagavatam, Upanishads, and other transcendental literatures. No one is equal to Him. We can repeat responsibly. The personality of Godhead is He who is described as the absolute whole in the Vedas, Bhagavatam, Upanishads, and other transcendental literatures. No one is equal to him. Purport. There are innumerable authoritative statements in the Vedas regarding the personal feature of the Absolute Truth. Some of them are as follows. 1. From the Rik Samhita 122.20. Tad Vishnu paramam padam sada pashyanti suraya divivya chakshur atatmam. The personality of Godhead Vishnu is the Absolute Truth, whose lotus feet all the demigods are always eager to see. Like the sun god, he pervades everything by the rays of his energy. He appears impersonal to imperfect eyes. From the Narayan-Artava Stira Upanishad 1-2. Narayanat eva sammutpadyante, Narayanat pravartante, Narayana praliyante, Ata nityo Narayana, Narayana evedam, Sarvam yad bhutam yakcha bhavam, Sudo deva eko Narayano, nadvitiyo si kaschit. It is from Narayan only that everything is generated, by him only that everything is maintained, and in him only that everything is annihilated. Therefore Narayan is eternally existing. Everything that exists now or will be created in the future is nothing but Narayan, who is the unadulterated deity. There is only Narayan and nothing else. 3. From the Narayan Upanishad 1-4. Yata Purusha Jagata Prashuti. Narayan is the source from whom all the universes emanate. From the higher Sirsa Pancharatna. Paramatma Harir Deva. Hari is the Supreme Lord. And from Srimad Bhagavatam 11.3.34-35. Narayana Bidal Nasya Brahma Paramatmana Nishtam Artha no Vyaktum Yuyam Hi Brahma Vittama. O best of the Brahmanas, please tell us the position of Narayan, who is also known as Brahman and Paramatma. Sthiti Udbhava Pralaya Hetur Aheturasya Yad Svapna Jagara Susupti Susad Bahischa Tehendriyasu Ridayani Charanti Yena Sanjivitani Tad Avehi Param Narendra. O King, know him who is causeless and yet is the cause of creation, maintenance and annihilation. He exists in the 3 states of consciousness, namely waking, dreaming and deep sleep, as well as beyond them. He enlivens the body, the senses, the breath of life and the heart, and thus they move. Know him to be supreme. Om Gyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sri Caitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vevacha Pritanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we're in the section of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is the Adi Lila, the earlier pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. And in this section, we're in chapter 2, which is establishing Lord Chaitanya's position as exactly identical to Krishna. And the verse that came before the ones that we read, Adi 2:22, is the verse that gives incredible evidence substantiating why Lord Chaitanya is Krishna in his full capacity, not just like Lord Ram, who is part of the lila avatars and who is Krishna himself fully, but manifesting a certain amount of qualities of Krishna. And we learn in the Nectar of Devotion how Lord Krishna is the only one who manifests 64 specific qualities, and how we as jivas, we can come up to a certain percentage of those qualities in some degree, but Krishna has all 64 to the max. So Lord Chaitanya, he is not just another incarnation of Krishna. He's not just like as we have Lord Ram, Lord Vishnu, Narayan. All of them, yes, like one candle lit from the original candle, all carry the flame, but Krishna is the original. Yet Lord Chaitanya is as original as Krishna, because he is Krishna in his full manifestation. So this chapter is focused on that. But the verses that we currently read come after the verse that establishes Lord Chaitanya as Krishna, because these verses are now establishing Krishna. So what makes Krishna, or Lord Narayan in this context given as the name, what makes him supreme? So I read this verse and this purport the first time, and I thought, oh boy, such a verse with so many verses quoted in it and so technically shastric, what to do with this? And I read it again, and then 2 days later I read it again, and I kept thinking, like, how do I relate to this? So I think you're all going to help me relate to it, because when we read the verse and the purport, we find that in it Srila Prabhupada is giving us the nature of God. And this is not a small thing, because you can practice many different types of spirituality or religion and not know much about the nature of God. So we've just gone through the text and the purport, and I'd like to know if anybody picked up one thing that they could remember that said something about Krishna, something about Narayan that you could learn in the verse or the purport. Does anybody remember one thing? Yes, that Narayan is the supreme. Yes, that's true. And that he is Brahman. Yes. So in this context, when it says Brahman, it's not referring to like a Brahmana, but Brahman as the effulgence of the spiritual world. The sun that we see is just a reflection of this Brahman, So yes, there is Brahman. Good listener, yay. Anybody else? One quality that we picked up. This is because it is so easy because after the 4th time that I read the text and the purport, a friend asked me, so what's the verse you're speaking about tomorrow? And I was like, it's about Narayan and I completely couldn't remember the verse. So in the aid of attentive listening, when we know we're going to be put on the spot, we tend to pay more attention. So anybody else remember one thing from the purport? One quality of Krishna. To aid you, I'm just going to read that verse again. Lord Narayan, he dominates the transcendental world, is full in 6 opulences. He is the personality of Godhead, the Lord of the goddess of fortune. The personality of Godhead is he who is described as the absolute whole in the Vedas, the Bhagavatam, Upanishads, and other transcendental literatures. No one is equal to him. Okay, here's your second chance. Anybody remembers one thing that we learnt about Narayan? The 6 opulences, yes. What are the 6 opulences? Anybody knows? One opulence? Strength, beauty, yes. Anyone else? Fame, right. 3 down, 3 more to go. I can hear? Renounced, I heard somewhere. Renounced, right. 4? Two more. Knowledge. And one more? Wealth. Yes, wealth. These are Krishna's 6 opulences. Anybody remember anything else from the verses or purport that says something about Narayan? Yes. Yes, it seems impersonal to imperfect eyes. Yes, yes, that's true. So I put down this list of things that I thought that the verse and the purport is telling us about God. You know, 1, it's giving us his name, a name, Narayan. 2 is he tells us that he dominates the transcendental world. Now I noted the feeling that the word dominates. I don't like it. I don't like that word, you know. But here Krishna dominates the transcendental world out of love. Because in the spiritual world, the only thing that can dominate is love. Then we learn that he is full of the 6 opulences, that he is a person. This entire 2 verses, Srila Prabhupada is using to establish this one point. There is the absolute truth, and that absolute truth is a person. And the first verse of the Bhagavatam starts there. It's establishing there is the absolute truth, and that absolute truth is a person. And one of the things that I'd like us to consider today is that as people who have sacrificed the morning of their Mother's Day to come sit in this temple, see the beautiful Lord, and hear a class, who definitely accept to some degree in their hearts that God is personal, why is it so hard to act in that way? That's one of the things I'd like us to think about. So the person, the absolute truth, the absolute whole is who the Vedas speak of. The next point was made that it was that he pervades everything like the sun rays, which Vishanti mentioned. And imperfect eyes see him as impersonal. Then in the verses that Prabhupada's mentioning, we hear that he is the generator, that he is the maintainer, and that he is the annihilator, and that he is eternal. That he is the source of the past and the future. That he is Brahman, but also that he is Paramatma. What does it mean that he is Paramatma? Anyone? He's within the heart. He's within the heart, yes. So now that we learned these things, or we're hearing these things about Narayan, there's a little bit more. He said, the subsidiary text says that he exists in 3 states of consciousness. Does anyone remember the 3 states? Waking, sleeping, and dreaming. But nice guess, dreaming. Someone said deep sleep. And as well as beyond them. And the last one, which is my favorite, he enlivens the body, the senses, the breath of life, and the heart. And thus they move. Beautiful, yeah? Isn't it such a beautiful description? So, we've heard this about Narayan, and this sort of, what I'm trying to say here is to say that it's really easy when we contact the Shastra to tune off. To just simply tune off. And how do I know it's easy? Because that's what happens to me. Jai Shri Radha Radhanath, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Giriraj Govardhan ki jai. So maybe this class is a little bit an exercise for myself to just, what does it mean to consciously listen? What does it mean to consciously listen? If we know these things about God, right? And if we accept them, what does that mean to us? What does that mean to us? Let's start. We know Krishna has all opulences. He has all beauty, all fame, all knowledge, all strength, all renunciation, and all wealth. So if I accept that, what does that mean about the way I relate to Krishna? What does that tell us about Krishna? That he is compassionate. True. But why? How does the opulence tell us that Krishna is compassionate? Because one who has everything has no reason to exploit anyone. This is interesting because we always have this conversation along the breakfast table. There's Team Krishna and there's Team Not Krishna. And I'm always Team Not Krishna, unfortunately. Madhurya is always Team Krishna. I may stand up and say, but why did Krishna let this happen? He's God, he knew this was going to happen. Why did he let this happen? So I'm always Team Not Krishna. And Madhurya is always Team Krishna. And she's a pretty good Team Krishna. So, and often she defeats whatever I'm saying. But what I want to say is, what I'm thinking is that how do I then move to Team Krishna? If I move to Team Krishna, the idea is that first thing is to understand that all things that Krishna does and that happens in my life, Krishna's not trying to exploit me. Krishna's not trying to exploit me because he has no reason to exploit. Why do people exploit? Because they want something. Whether it's fame, whether it's money, whether it's land, whether it's domination, they want something. And when you have everything, there's no reason to exploit. So how would I live my life if I truly accept that Krishna has all opulences? And when I say live my life, I also mean do I internally cultivate my relationship with Krishna if I truly believe that he's not trying to exploit me in any way? You want to say something? I feel like this. Yeah. Yes. 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 Yeah. Humbling, yes. Yes. You wanted to say something else? Oh, I saw. So, grateful, gratitude. Yeah, gratitude that he owns everything, but he gives us some. He has all wealth, but he gave us a little bit. He has all beauty, but he gave everybody something. So that's true. The point that I was meditating on is the idea that if Krishna's not trying to exploit me, then I can trust him. There's no reason not to trust him or to trust his motivations. Then I can trust him. And that's simply from the idea that Krishna has all opulences. And that also that when the desire to exploit is there, it's because we find some lacking within us. So when we feel lacking within ourselves, or the need to exploit when I say exploit somebody, it sounds a bit far-fetched, right? But exploitation happens in everyday life, in everyday dealings amongst everyday people. If I am in a family, and I want my children to do what I think is best for their life, and the course that I think they need to do, the job that I think they need to get, because that's the life that I wanted to live, but I didn't get a chance, so now I'm living it through them, that's exploitation. If I'm in a relationship, and I'm just there because I want the other person to just fully serve me, or I just want to get from the other person some sense of, emotional validation. And, relationships are very difficult things. So easily exploitation can exist in relationships. If I'm in a temple and I'm speaking to people in a class, and I can give a really nice class and check out who to hit up for a donation, that has an element of exploitation. Every one of us is capable of exploiting, and we exploit because we feel lacking. And if Krishna has all opulences, and if we align with him, then the inner feeling is that we won't need to be lacking anything, because we're taken care of by someone who has everything. So no need to exploit. And then the major point, Krishna is a person. Krishna is a person. Question: how many seconds after you put your hand into a bead bag do you forget that you're chanting Hare Krishna? Okay, maybe this is more innocent, more reasonable. Who, within 1 minute of putting your hand into a bead bag, can forget that you're actually chanting Hare Krishna? Because we forget he's a person. We forget that I am conversating with someone here. The moment my hand goes in the bead bag, my to-do list starts rolling. And then everything, and then it rolls like a reel on repeat for 16 rounds. And then after that, when it stops, like when it's time to now to do the list, I'm too exhausted to do anything on the list because the whole 2 hours I've been thinking about what I need to do. So the idea is, what would life be like if we truly accepted that Krishna is a person? Now, one thing is that if Krishna, can anybody say, what would it mean to accept truly that Krishna is a person? How would life change? Much more peaceful life. Why would you be more peaceful? Team Krishna. See, she's always Team Krishna. But, okay. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, one point is, if he is a person, what does that mean? It means that we can relate to him. It means that we can talk to him. It means that he can respond. It means that, when sometimes I'm just putting something in front of him and ringing the bell, thinking, yeah, eat this quickly because I've got to get things done, and it has to be offered, because if I don't offer it, it's going to be karma on my head, and I can't have karma on my head, so Krishna, please eat this now, that we are dealing with a person. Like, how would you feel if you was that person? How would you feel? How would you feel when someone comes to say, I want to talk to you, and then they zone not there. Not there at all. And then you must sit there, waiting for them to talk to you for 2 hours. And then you do it again the next day. So, if Krishna is a person, then he's capable of loving us. And that's a deep thing. It's really difficult for people and me, conditioned souls, to accept that Krishna genuinely loves us. Not just for what we do. Not just for the pure devotee we can become. Not just for the great service that we can render. But even in our conditioned state right now. And you know why that's hard and to the degree that that's hard for us to accept, to that degree, it's hard for us to accept and love imperfect others. Does that make sense? If I can truly accept that Krishna loves me, whether in my conditioned state or not, then why can't I accept, then I know that Krishna loves her also in her imperfect state or not, and then it's okay. But because I don't believe it, and I know the imperfections exist in me, then everybody else's imperfections is also a problem. So just these Shastra, the Shastra is deep. It's deep. But we're going to have to take the step, we have to step into it. We have to step into it, And stepping into the Shastra is really hard, devotees, because first it's going to run through your mind like what? And again what? And then wait, what? And then maybe as like a river, or the ocean. When you're trying to step into the ocean, I know about personal experience. If you stay near the surface, the waves are rough and they'll knock you down. But if you go a little bit deeper, the ebb is easier. And the waves no more crash and whack you over. So you have to go over the initial phase of resistance. resistance to making the Shastra personally relatable to my life. Okay, so Krishna is the generator, maintainer, and annihilator. If I truly accept that, how would it change my life? Well, for one, the one thing I wrote down is, relax, Rukmini, that post is already taken. Because so many times when you're in the throng of service, being devotional, doing important things for Krishna consciousness, I completely lose track of the fact that Krishna is God. Ratha Yatra, you're in the middle of service. Maybe you're in the Govinda's tent and there's 100 customers there and they're all shouting orders at you and you're at the till and you have to sort out the money, In moments like that, I forget that Krishna's God. I forget it. But if I remember that He's the generator, the maintainer, and the annihilator, then I can say, relax. I don't have to be in control. I don't have to try and control everything. Of course, it is not an excuse to be lax. There's a difference between relax and lax. And lax means irresponsible. We're not saying irresponsible. But if I truly accept that Krishna is the controller, can you imagine what happens to anxiety levels if you can truly accept that Krishna is the controller? No, it can relax. It can reduce. We don't have to be in anxiety all the time. And to the degree that we're constantly in anxiety, to that degree we can humbly see that it's hard to accept that Krishna is the controller. It's not so easy. And yet it's so easy to tell somebody, Krishna's the controller, is the maintainer, is your best friend. And do you believe it? Do we live it? We try to. Do we remember it? So Krishna is eternal. One side effect of that is that He can never leave us. People so often have abandonment issues. We think that as soon as you get there's a clinical study of it, that we think that as soon as somebody gets close to you, you put your guard up. You put your guard up because you know that if there is attachment develops, and this can be in any sort of relationship, if attachment develops, then you risk pain, you risk rejection. And experience tells us that people who come close to us can go away. You may learn that through a breakup, you may learn that by losing someone you love, you may, as in them passing away, you may learn that in so many ways. And then the heart remains guarded. But if Krishna is eternal, it means that we don't have to guard our heart because we can never lose Him. We can never lose Him. And then He is Paramatma, which means that it's okay, Prabhu, don't worry, it's okay, we can manage. He is Paramatma, which means that He is in our hearts. He is witnessing, He is permitting, He is conscious of our every thought. And yet He doesn't leave us. I don't know if there could be anybody in existence who would be conscious of my every thought and not leave me. Because we can put a face out when we're coming to the temple or when we're going to work, when we meet somebody in public. But your family, they really know how you are. And even them, they don't fully know. Because when the doors are closed, only we know. And still there's parts of us that we don't even know about ourselves. But Krishna knows all of it. All of it. And yet He still chooses not to abandon us in the heart. Despite any thought you may have had that you thought, even if you thought of intentionally committing a murder, to a Vaishnava. Right? Krishna didn't say, jump out of this heart, I'm never going to stay here now. He chooses to be there. And this is testament to the type of person Krishna is. And then the last line, the line that said that he enlivens the senses, the breath of life, and the heart, and thus they move. What does that tell us about Krishna? One is that we are dependent on him. We can't do anything independently. We can't breathe independently. And the other, now that sometimes may feel disempowering. You know, okay, I'm dependent on you, I get it. Because sometimes when you have dependents, you know, then the dependents have to do what you say they do. The relationship can get exploitive, you know. However, Krishna, we are dependent on him, but we can depend on him also. We learn that we can depend on him because he's dependable. And because he has all opulences, he doesn't want to exploit us. So that dependence is loving. It's loving dependence that we can have on Krishna. So, we've heard this. Nothing I'm saying is new. We've heard this. So why still does it feel difficult to accept that Krishna is a person? Well, one reason is because Radhanath isn't jumping off the altar and telling you exactly what he thinks about Rukmini, how you should get your life together. You know? He isn't there when you're like scrolling through your Instagram reels, say, hey, what the hell are you doing? You know? So therefore, we hear Krishna is personal, but the personal interaction, like you don't have to convince me that Vishanti is a person. Because I can see her, she's here, she talks to me, we do service together. I don't really have to be convinced, really, you know, unless you have a truly exploitative mentality and don't look at human beings as persons. But anyway, that's another story. But so why is it difficult with Krishna? Because we can't fully, in this conditioned state, experience him like that. So therefore, our experience of Krishna as a person is subtle. It is subtle. You have to be listening to the ways that Krishna is revealing that is in our lives. And then you have to be open-hearted to accept that that's not just in your mind making it up, that that's real. And that's when Krishna becomes a person, when we start listening. Listening to hear the sound of his hand in our lives. So, and that is why becoming theistic, truly theistic, truly accepting Krishna's personality is a level by level thing. Maybe the first day you walked into the temple and somebody would have thought like, what's this? Especially if you didn't come from a Hindu tradition and you don't just accept the deity. Like, what's this? But then we say, okay, but I feel something here. So when I first came to the temple and I saw the deities and then everybody was standing next to the deities for arti, I'm like, okay, we saw them now. We're going to stand here for 20 minutes and keep looking. I just couldn't know what they keep looking at because we saw, right? But then one Janmashtami, I was my first one, did the full fast from whatever, and at midnight I was at the altar, took the darshan, I'm like, food, I need to eat something, Then I looked up, I was like, okay, it's like, hi God, you look beautiful, can I go now? And then I looked up, and in the reflection of the mirrors, because these mirrors reflect, I saw the devotee next to me, and she was crying. Then I looked back at Krishna, I was like, did I miss something here? And I looked, it was like, no, I don't think I missed. And I looked back at the devotee, and she was crying. And I thought like, okay, we're not seeing the same thing. We're not seeing the same thing. So, and then I told another devotee, I don't really feel anything when I'm in front of the deities. And that devotee told me, well, go chant in front of the deities. Go chant your japa in front of the deities. And the experience of chanting japa in front of the deities gave me a little percentage of faith that, okay, yeah, he's there. But Krishna's not just there. Krishna's in my room. Krishna's in my heart. Krishna's in my house. Krishna is in every other individual that I speak to. Also. So the layers that block our idea and understanding that Krishna is God will peel away slowly over decades, if you're dof like me. Over decades, slowly these layers are peeling off, because some part of us is still truly atheistic. You can, even in the garb of a sari, on the altar, offering an arati, there's still some part of me that is not accepting that Krishna is God. And until we find that part, and we offer that part to Krishna also, because it says in the verse that Srila Prabhupada quoted, Om Tat Vishnu Paramam Padam Sada Pashyanti Suraya, that Krishna's lotus feet can enlighten us. The rays from Krishna's lotus feet can enlighten us. So, I'm gonna, how are we doing for time? Do you know what's the time? Wait, I'll check. 5 minutes. Yeah, okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna so one of the nice ways that I like to approach Shastra is that, which I heard from, broken names, Sachinandan Swami, is that when we read the Shastra, we read firstly the words in it, and the knowledge that's in the Shastra, and we hear it, Shravana. Then the next thing is that we got to think about what we are hearing. And that's manana. The next step is got to think about, how do I apply what I was thinking about? And that's nididhyasana. And the fourth thing is a prayer. Krishna, please help this knowledge sit in my heart so that I can apply it. So right now, through our discussion, I tried to increase the shravanam, that we pay attention to what we hear. I tried to help to get us think about it, mananam. But now it's up to you to think, what do I do to actually apply this in my life? How do I make, wherever, and for everybody it's different, whichever stage in life you are in, and whatever your space is, how do you apply this today? What's one thing I can do today, even if it's 30 seconds, that help me accept Krishna more as a person? Maybe I can talk to him. Maybe I can see the person in my life who has Krishna in their heart that I'm not treating like a human being, fully. So many ways that we can recognize Krishna's presence. And then we can end with a prayer. You can have your own prayer, because you have your own application. And my prayer would be, Krishna, please let the effulgence from your lotus feet enlighten my heart so that I can accept your presence a little more. And these prayers are powerful. Because when Krishna hears our prayer, he may be 1% closer to believing it. Or maybe he believes it, even if we don't. So I'm going to stop here. And if there's any thoughts, questions, or comments, we can take it now. Vashanti, we just need a...
Thank you for lovely, thought-provoking questions in class. As you were speaking about what prevents us from treating Krishna as a person, and then you said because we can't interact or speak, or relying on the sense perception to have that exchange. It got my mind thinking about how many things we do blindly trust. You never really see the pilot, but then one could argue you could walk in and see the pilot, but you never met the engineer who built the plane,
Okay.
Or you never, and then when things get into an emergency state, like you have to go see a doctor and get a surgery, you have to just trust the surgeon. You have to just trust that even if you don't meet him before the surgery, he's coming and he's going to do it. And in those instances, we're more likely to trust because it's like life-saving things. And so after the end of this trail of thoughts, I thought, why leave it to that emergency where you're like on the verge of death and then you go, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. How can we, like you said, how can we make it present now? How can we deepen that faith now? When we can clearly see we have to place quote-unquote blind faith in so many things, meaning that you have to trust so many material things. Why not trust the source of all those things? Why not trust the perfect engineer? Why not trust the person who again and again, lifetime after lifetime, has been patient and proven? And so how can we make it a now thing instead of waiting for that emergency moment where you're like, I have to trust you now because I'm in a very scary situation of leaving the body or whatever it is,
Yes, that's the question. One thing I can say is, Haribo, you have a thought? Oh, Jai Prabhu, okay. Is that a question? A comment? Okay. No, what I thought about is that there was a reel that says, please take care of your health because your future doctors are learning through AI, so, but that point is that why do we, how can we trust now? My first thought is, trust is not intellectual. So even as much as we intellectually perceive that Krishna is God, intellectually it's hard to trust. So when we start entering the idea of consciously being in a relationship with Krishna as a conditioned soul even now, then maybe trust comes closer. Thank you. Jai Prabhu?
Hare Krishna. Somebody mentioned one of the features of is compassion. But the more glaring compassion we see on the altar, that he is manifested as his Acha Vigraha, to accept our service, especially in his Kali Yuga. And even more compassionate has come in the form of his holy name. Kale Kale Nama Rupa Krishna Avatar. So even if we're not convinced of Krishna as a person, the holy name is non-different.
Yes.
And we have to be convinced of that it's absolute also.
Yes, that's true. Beautiful point. Thank you, Jai Prabhu. And this is our plug-in for people to go on, oh no, today's not Saturday. Harinam next week, Saturday, to help share the holy name. That even if we don't fully, even the part of us that feels atheistic, by chanting Hare Krishna, and trying to consciously chant Hare Krishna, then that can also be, that's also the rays from Krishna's lotus feet. Any other thoughts? Okay, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much. Grantaraj Sri Caitanya caritamrta ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki, Nitai Gaura Premananda.